I'm Sharpie Shark. I love watching and reviewing movies, but I am super far behind, so I'm just gonna smush together June and July. Let's go.
You flipped out and tried to leave without saying goodbye?
An American family goes on vacation in Italy, and that family consists of Ben, who's played by Scoot McNairy, Louise, played by Mackenzie Davis, and their daughter Agnes, played by Alex West Leffler. And they connect with a family that they made on that vacation, primarily the bromance that happens between Ben and Patty, who's played by none other than the lovely James McAvoy. His wife Sierra is played by Aisling Franciosi, and their son Ant is played by Dan Huff, who is adorable. I love him. They choose to accept an invitation to visit this couple's countryside home, and that's where the polite niceties slowly transform into something a lot more sinister. And it all started because of goddamn bromance. At its core, Speak No Evil is a horror movie all about people pleasing. From giving into whenever your kid really wants a bunny, to accepting and eating meat whenever you've been a vegetarian for years just because the host is offering it to you, to staying in a home where the hosts are clearly dangerous. The Daltons just keep making one bad call after another, and it's mind-boggling. As a recovering people pleaser myself, it was really difficult to watch, especially after making the decision to stay after something extremely creepy happens to their child. Technically nothing bad happened, but it was creepy, and why didn't they just leave? Driving me up a wall. That says the performances are great across the board. McAvoy is of course magnetic and charming and just wonderful. Franciosi is really sweet, but she has this unnerving hostility and malevolence to her that's just perfect. And the kids are honestly some of the strongest parts of the movie. They did really well. They sold it, even if I was really annoyed with that little girl sometimes. They sell the tension so well that there are so many times that you just want to take the parents by the shoulders and shake them real hard. Oh my god. Uncomfortable, infuriating, and basically should be shown as therapy to all people pleasers as a worst case scenario if you do not get better at this. 3.5 stars. I had a good time. It wasn't perfect, but I really liked it, and now I do really need to see the original.
And you will become a legend.
When the man comes around. When the man comes.
Oh boy. Yes, Kraven the Hunter. Sony's latest Marvel anti-hero spinoff featuring Sergei Kravinov, who's played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's a big game hunter who gains animalistic powers after a faithful encounter with the wild as a kiddo. What follows is a lot of family drama, blood feuds, and plenty of snarling about destiny. I don't have a whole lot to say about this film. I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson looks great, right? He's awesome. And if you ever forget what his role is, don't worry. He will say, "I'm a hunter," like 1,000 times throughout the entire film. I guess the main thing that I want to say here is that the CGI is so bad, like atrociously bad. I felt like I was constantly watching PS3 cutscenes. There's one point where there's like a rock slide, a landslide, and a character is falling down, and we had to watch it a few times because it was just so gross, and not good gross. The thing is that I really like Kraven the Hunter in the comics. I think that he's a really cool character. He's interesting. He's a baddie. And I just felt like the writing really should have done him more justice. I mean, ATJ really gave it his all. He gave a good performance. He usually does. He's a great actor.
And he's really nice to look at.
Honestly, there just isn't a lot to salvage here. The story is really messy. The effects are super cheap. And this just feels like yet another attempt to squeeze blood out of Spider-Man's side characters. But as a hate watch, kind of fun. 2 stars.
Kiss him and you will die.
There's a natural order to things. You can't just do as you please.
I remember everything.
The curse always finds a way, no matter what.
I chose you. I chose love.
Now, does that give you vibes or what? Fallen is a movie that came out in 2016, which makes sense, and was adapted from a novel written by Lauren Kate, and it was directed by Scott Hicks. Luce Price, yes, that is the character's name, played by Addison Tamlin, is sent to a mysterious boarding/reform school called Sword and Cross after being blamed for a tragic death. While she's attending Sword and Cross, she is drawn to not 1, but 2 enigmatic classmates, because of course she is. Luke, who's played by Jeremy Irvine, and Cam, who's played by Harrison Gilbertson, all while she's haunted by strange memories and shadows. As she untangles her past, she discovers a supernatural secret and must choose where her heart truly lies. Okay, so this movie is terrible, and I desperately need more of it. It leans so hard into the mid-2000s YA tropes, a la Twilight and Divergent, that I just tip my hat to it. The acting, subpar. The costumes, dated in the most nostalgic way ever. The constant blue tint that's over everything, just fills me with this nostalgic teenage angst. The plot does these leaps of logic that are just so wild, you just kind of have to roll your eyes and go with it, and then you clap because they're fun. Oh, but I want sequels. I need more Fallen in my life, and it did so poorly that it's never gonna happen. I guess I could read the books. Oh, I think there's a TV series. I know what I'm doing after Hooptober. It's so messy and ridiculous and fun, and there is some really interesting chemistry happening between the characters. There's just enough meat there that I really want more. It's not good though, so half a star, but it does get a big ol' heart.
Millennium Actress.
What do I even say here? Millennium Actress released in 2001 and was directed and co-written by the legendary Satoshi Kon. And it's one of those films where once it's over, you are left sitting there with the feeling of dreaming while still awake. This film is an absolute masterpiece, and it weaves together memory and cinema and longing in a way that honestly, only this director can. So what happens in this movie? Well, documentarian Genya Tachibana and his cameraman Ida are invited to interview Chiyoko Fujiwara, who's a reclusive former actress, about her life and career. As Chiyoko recounts her past, the boundary between her real memories and the films she made begins to blur, dragging the filmmakers and us into a kaleidoscope of eras, genres, and emotional echoes. Watching it is like stepping into a dream where deja vu fractures and reforms. It's like you can't hold it steady. If you fight it, you lose it. But if you let it carry you, then you just land in a puddle of beautiful tears. Satoshi Kon is an absolute master, of course. I mean, I honestly think that Perfect Blue is one of the best horror movies, if not one of the best films of all time. And I'm gonna go see it in theaters tomorrow, and I'm so excited.
There's a Taylor Swift thing.
Millennium Actress is different in tone to Perfect Blue, but it deeply carries Satoshi Kon's DNA, with reality folding into fiction and memory that's refusing linear time and identity that's always shifting. Oh, and the way this studio draws women is just so beautiful. And oh my god, Chiyoko's voice actors are just so good. You got Miyoko Shoji, who plays her elderly version, Mami Koyama plays her in middle age, and Fumiyoko Orikasa plays her younger self. And seriously, just all three of them did such a bang-up job. You really do feel her across time. The little girl who's always holding a key in her pocket, the actress who's chasing ghosts, and the elderly woman who is holding on to her memories like they're fragile glass. And it's just beautiful. This story is a love story of many kinds, and it stings, and it's heartbreaking, and it's gorgeous. And for me, it landed at 4.5 stars. I don't know why it's not 5. Editing Sharpie here? No, it's a 5. It's a 5. I don't know why I said it was a 4.5. It's a 5. I takes these backsies.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
This one is pretty cool because I haven't heard anybody talk about it. I think it's kind of underground, and I'm really excited to get some eyes on it, to be honest. For legal reasons, that is a joke. This is Back to the Future. It came out in 1985. Everybody has seen this. I don't even know why I'm bothering with a plot synopsis, but here we are. Marty McFly, have you heard of him? Played by Michael J. Fox, is a teenager with a knack for trouble, and he accidentally travels back in time from 1985 to 1955 in a DeLorean built by his eccentric science friend Doc Brown, who's played by none other than Christopher Lloyd. While stuck in the past, Marty inadvertently interferes with his parents' meeting, which puts his own existence into jeopardy. He's got to find a way to bring them back together and get back to his own time before it's too late. Did you know any of that? Is all of that new information to you? Oh, it still holds up. It's still a perfect movie. It is such a rare kind of magic when a film is both a time capsule and timeless at the same time. Back to the Future is anchored so deeply in the nostalgia of the 50s and 80s, and yet it never feels dated. Even the present day 80s is still idealized and stylized in a way that perfectly fits the tone and just holds up. Robert Zemeckis directed and co-written with Bob Gale a film that is smart and funny and emotional and vulnerable and flawless in its pacing. Michael J. Fox is brilliant as Marty. He's energetic and charming and vulnerable. Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is honestly just electric. Absolutely electric. Leah Thompson, Thomas F. Wilson, and Crispin Glover. I'm going to talk about Crispin Glover here in a second. The whole cast just brings these characters to life in an immediate way, not just a classic way. It's not just a movie that I like, it's one that I genuinely admire. The humor works, the emotional core works, the sci-fi mechanics kind of work, I guess. I don't know. It's a perfect film. It's a classic for a reason, and it's got a solid 5 stars from me.
You're so big.
Michael J. Fox. Christopher Lloyd. Michael J. Fox.
We're like a couple of teenagers, you know?
And Michael J. Fox.
Mom, is that you?
Steven Spielberg presents a Robert Zemeckis film, Back to the Future.
Gotta get back in time.
Part 2.
Whoa, how crazy. We watched the second one after. What a shocker. Back to the Future Part 2 came out in 1989 and was again directed by Robert Zemeckis and co-written with Bob Gale. The sequel picks up right where the first left off. Marty McFly and Doc Brown travel forward to the year 2015 to save Marty's future family, only to end up unraveling the timeline and creating a dystopian version of 1985. The only way to fix things? Head back to 1955. But this time, they're dodging their past selves while trying not to break reality. And it gets so complicated so fast. But like I said, I want to talk about Crispin Glover because this is really important to me for some reason. Did anybody else grow up with the rumor that Crispin Glover was really impossible to work with and that he was weird and almost creepy towards women? Because I heard that and I believed it until I was old enough to challenge that thought. And I've learned that that's not true. Well, okay, I mean, Crispin is a weirdo, but like not in an eccentric way, in an art house oddball way. I mean, his projects have always been very one for them, one for me. One mainstream project to pay the bills and keep my name out there, one very artsy, eccentric film for me to fill my heart. The real story is that Glover didn't return to Part 2 for many reasons. One was the pay. He wanted a pay increase and they didn't give it to him. And the other main reason is that he didn't like the ending to the first movie. He felt that it was materialistic and he just didn't agree with it. So he was like, hey, I don't want to do this. For some reason, I'm using my lip gloss to conduct this video. I'm going to put it down now. And the studio's response? As we have seen, they literally made prosthetics, used older footage, and recreated his likeness without his permission. Crispin Glover actually sued for this, which is part of that rumor of him being so impossible to work with. And that lawsuit was really important because it paved the way in Hollywood for actors to be able to protect their likeness. So yeah, that's my little side rant about how I want justice for Crispin Glover. Meanwhile, the movie itself absolutely rocks, let's be honest. The future sequences are absolutely iconic. Hello, hoverboards and self-tying Nike shoes. And the alternate 1985 is still one of the scariest dystopias that mainstream film has ever produced in my eyes because it feels so very, very plausible. The movie within a movie structure is really fun with Marty chasing himself around, and I just thought it was really clever. Part 2 sometimes gets overshadowed by the original, but it still deserves massive respect. It's big, bold, weird, darker than the original, and incredibly inventive. 4.5 stars.
Je suis pas folle. Je suis folle.
No, we did not watch the third Back to the Future yet. We kept meaning to, and now it's October. But Mads came out in 2024, and it's one of those films that just drops you into chaos and then refuses to let you go. Directed by David Moreau, it's a French film that looks like it's shot as one continuous take, although my partner swears that he saw a cut whenever a character's running through some grass, but even if there is a cut, that means it's a 2-take film, and that's still really impressive. The story follows Romain, who's played by Milton Riche, who gets caught up in a drug-fueled night that spirals into pure nightmare territory. Alongside Anaïs, who's played by Laurie Pavy, and Julia, who's played by Lucille Guillaume, he stumbles through a city unraveling around them, where a strange contagion spreads like mania, where loud noises, bright lights, anything sensory just completely sets people off. It's not necessarily your typical zombie setup, and it is so terrifying in that. I really love the camera work here, the way that it just keeps you locked into that single shot. It genuinely feels like you're stumbling through the streets with these characters as everything just goes to hell. The performances are just so good, especially from the character Anaïs, and it just keeps you so grounded and emotional, even whenever everything is super overwhelming. That said, it's not perfect. It's really hard to keep the pacing going in a single continuous shot kind of film, and it struggled here and there with that, and I will say that I did roll my eyes at some of the really stupid decisions that the characters were making. Like, you know, a stranger meeting someone who looks like they're crazy and decides to trust them instead of just shooting them, because we're in a zombie movie. That's what you do. That's what you do. Do I just have trust issues? Well, yeah. And sometimes the survival odds felt just a little too convenient, like how many bullets can you take, but the intensity and the atmosphere really carried me through. So it gets 3.5 stars for me. It's ambitious and unnerving, and I'm really excited to see what Moreau has cooking up next.
People need rules.
You should be dead, you psycho! Who are you?
Give me a second chance. Get to know me.
into friendship expecting, I don't know, maybe just like a prolonged episode of I Think You Should Leave. And that's kind of what I got, but it was also a horror story. And a tragedy? Friendship released in 2024 and was written and directed by Andrew DeYoung, and this is his first feature film. Our main character, Craig, is played by Tim Robinson, who's a socially awkward marketing executive stuck in suburban neutral. And he meets his new next-door neighbor, Austin, played by Paul Rudd, who is a charismatic and restless local meteorologist. Craig, desperate for connection, leans into Austin's orbit whenever Austin starts interacting with him and starts hanging out with him. And Craig goes exploring tunnels with him, goes on weird adventures, and he tries to forge a friendship that slowly starts to fracture under the weight of obsession, insecurity, and unspoken desires. Tim Robinson is perfectly cast as Craig. I don't know if this character was written for him, but it should have been. He brings this like perfect, jittery desperation, the I want this so badly, but I don't know how to get it energy. Paul Rudd as Austin is slippery. He's charming and mysterious, and he has just enough vulnerability to make you both root for him and to majorly distrust him. Kate Mara, Jack Dylan Grazer, and everybody else in the cast just kind of really rounds it out to support the weirdness without flattening it. What holds friendship up is the discomfort, that secondhand embarrassment, that feeling that's just crawling under your skin as you're watching it. But there's also something deeper simmering, the dynamics of dependence, boundaries, and what wanting connection can do when it's twisted by insecurity. And yes, there are some weird mother-son Oedipus vibes going on that are never quite explained. It lands where it lands, a solid 3.5 for me. Dark, funny, messy, frustrating, and I honestly exceeded all of my expectations because I had none.
How does that feel, baby?
Heather Graham.
Lower.
How does that feel, baby?
Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me.
Don't go.
Teehee, this one's fun. We watched Friendship with our friends, which is what I would recommend for your viewing experience, by the way, just saying. And the last time we were hanging out with all of these friends watching movies, we watched Austin Powers, the first one, International Man of Mystery. So this just felt like the natural progression of our hangout that night. All right, so if you've been living under a rock, Dr. Evil, played by Mike Myers, travels back to 1969. Nice. To steal Austin Powers' mojo, rendering him ineffective. Austin follows through time with the help of CIA agent Felicity Shagwell, played by the gorgeous Heather Graham, navigating absurd traps, battling new and old villains like the tiny but vicious Mini-Me, and trying to restore his charm and save the world. Here's the thing, I really love this one, maybe even more than the first. I'm sorry, is that okay to say? Sure, part of it might be the Heather Graham effect because that is a very real thing, but mostly it's just more memorable for some reason to me. Think about it, just cements itself in my memory, like all of the crazy, wild, ridiculous scenes, the tent scene, Fat Bastard, everything about Mini-Me, it's there. The rocket scene, that's like the first scene that comes to mind when I think of Austin Powers. Directed by Jay Roach and written by Mike Myers and Michael McCullers, the energy in this movie is just relentless. It's ridiculous. It leans hard into the 60s and 70s parody and just never lets you settle. It's also got a really big heart underneath all of the silliness. The jokes are insane. Some of them are really good, some of them aren't. And even the ones that aren't stick in your head. And also, it took Mike Myers 2 hours to get into the Fat Bastard makeup. So, respect. I'm giving it 4 stars. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. There we were in the theater, lights dimming, and I felt something in my heart that I hadn't felt in so long in regards to watching a superhero movie. Hope. Look, I grew up a DC kid, okay? Like, Batman was my guy. I played Justice League Heroes on the Xbox until the CD was ruined. I watched so much Justice League. I cried like a baby when Kevin Conroy died. I cried like a baby whenever I saw Bill Finger's name in The Penguin. Like, I am a DC girly. And man, DC TV shows were just so good. So good. But yet, here was the DCU just pumping out disappointment after disappointment. But in Gunn, I trusted, and he delivered. In this 2025 reboot of Superman directed by James Gunn, Clark Kent/Superman is played by David Corenswet, and he intervenes in an international conflict engineered by Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, only to find that doing the right thing comes with really heavy consequences. As Superman's public image wavers, he must rebuild trust. With the help of Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan, and unexpected allies, while reconciling his Kryptonian heritage and human life. David Corenswet. Corn-sweat. That's some hot sweat. Corn does actually sweat. It's really miserable, to be honest. Anyway, he steps into the cape and fully owns it. He fully leans into a Superman that is sweet and earnest and hopeful. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois has this chemistry that just crackles. She's not just like a side character. She's a whole force of nature, and I love her. Oh, and she has black hair. Yes. And again, the chemistry that's between Clark Kent and Lois Lane in this is just, oh my God, it's electric. I'm so bisexual. And Nicholas Hoult, oh my God. He gives Lex Luthor a weight that I haven't felt in a long time. A long time. He's menacing and obsessed, but weirdly grounded, and he has the most symmetrical and smooth cranium I have ever seen. I genuinely thought that it was CGI at first, but that's just his head. That's really impressive. I just really love that Gunn lets Superman be Superman, the Boy Scout, the helper, the idealist. Superman! Previous versions tried to darken him, to burden him with trauma instead of the Superman that takes on the trauma and smiles through it. Oh my God, Henry Cavill, I wish you had gotten this writing instead. And I loved all the side characters. Are you kidding me? James Gunn just wants to make movies about the weird offshoot characters, and that's fine. I would let him. My small critique is that Superman felt weak sometimes, which was really weird. Like, I was looking back through the scenes and I don't think he beat an enemy once without help, which is weird because it's Superman. I understood some of it for like the plot, but like every single time, I feel like he really needed like a Mr. Terrific scene. And you know exactly what scene I'm talking about. And maybe that's just part of this version's arc that they're building up to it, but that's just like a little criticism that I had, especially because like Superman, traditionally, I'm just saying, Superman is not very interesting of a character. Not a lot of people would say Superman is their favorite superhero, right? Because he's all powerful, but he's also just such a Boy Scout that he's a little less interesting. So they're doing something, and I really like what they're doing so far. So 4 stars, which is wild to say for a DC movie recently, other than the Batman, but that doesn't count. Pat Bat all the way.
Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity.
We watch some weird shit sometimes, man. Putting this one on kind of felt like an initiation into the 80s sci-fi exploitation. Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity came out in 1987, and the basic plot is that there are 2 women prisoners who escape their prison. They're then welcomed by Zed, a scarred host who seems really gracious and really looks like Christian Bale, and they meet up with more guests, more survivors, and eventually those guests start disappearing. The survivors realize they're being hunted for sport in a very twisted game of survival. Okay, here is me trying to make sense of this glorious mess. Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity is not a good movie in the mainstream sense. At all. It can't decide whether it's sci-fi thriller or softcore titillation or just weird B-movie art project. You know what it does have? Real sets. And as we all know, I am a slut for real sets, so it had me reeled in. It got its claws in me. As one might expect from a low-budget sci-fi thriller from the 80s, there is a ton of unnecessary nudity, which I could make a whole video about. Why are we so prudish nowadays? I understand when the nudity is genuinely excessive and does not matter to the plot, but why have audiences now gone so far to the other side where we can't even talk about sex or show or do anything with nudity in a film? I'm talking too much, I'm rambling. Anyway, because of the real sets, it does feel like there's a lot of scenes that drag on just to make use of them. So in the fortress, in the jungle, in the trophy room, there are some scenes that just kind of linger a little bit too long. And the writing is not good enough to do that. And then there's the robot, the very sexually confused robot. He steals the show for me. He's my favorite character. What saves it a little is the ambition. With a $90,000 budget, it feels like it tried to mash the most dangerous game with space tropes and jungle hunts. And it sometimes worked. There's real effort put into the set designs, the lighting, and the creature moments, and the score by Carl Dante really leans into the mood swings between wistful and menacing. I laughed, I cringed, I shook my head a lot. It's very camp. It gets a 1.5 stars.
Who's gonna do the number?
You! The first Nudie musical. The bare truth about the making of the most original film you will ever see.
I certainly did not know that this existed, and I'm so glad that I do now. The first Nudie musical came out in 1976 and was directed by Mark Haggard and Bruce Kimmel, and it straddles that weird zone of being so outrageous that you can't take it seriously, and I love it for that. Harry Schechter, an heir to a failing Hollywood studio, is desperate to save it from being sold off. He hatches a plan. produce a pornographic musical in 2 weeks, or lose ownership. So the film becomes a chaotic backstage hijinks musical full of body numbers, absurd jokes, and desperate ambition. It is crass and disgusting and silly, but also incredibly earnest. I don't know, man.
I will not do this scene until those goddamn dildos learn their steps. I'm an actress.
Like, what, man? What? The sets are real, okay? The sets are real, and the costume and staging is just gloriously over the top. And honestly, the ambition for having such a low budget is really charming. You want to talk about gratuitous nudity? Oh my god, this film is so over the top. I loved it. It's kind of hard to say that it's got gratuitous nudity when the whole point of the film is nudity. And when I say nude, I mean everything, everyone. It dares you to laugh, cringe, shake your head, and usually just all at the same time. 2.5 stars. Is that too many? Am I just a pervert? I'm just a pervert. But come on, there was a musical number called Dancing Dildos. Guess what happened?
If we want to survive, we have to make it until dawn. What is that?
I walked into Until Dawn with some very low expectations, hoping for like some cool nods to the game, maybe a few clever scares, and what I got was a very confused mess. Not confusing, just confused. It barely has any Supermassive Games vibes at all. It's got a couple characters that you might recognize name-wise, not like actual characters, and the creatures are familiar. But that's it. Oh, and there's an hourglass. Directed by David F. Sandberg, Until Dawn released in 2025 and is a horror survival movie based off of the 2015 video game. In it, there's a group of friends. Clover, who's played by Ella Rubin, her ex-boyfriend Max, Michael Camino, Nina, played by Odessa Azion. That's a really cool last name that I can't figure out. Odessa Azion. That is so dope. Abe, who's played by Belmont Camelli, and Megan, played by Ji Young Yu, travel to a remote valley where Clover's sister Melanie has disappeared. They discover that they are trapped in a time loop. When someone dies, the night restarts with new threats, and they must survive until dawn to break free. This honestly feels like a mid-2000 flick that was made in 2025. The pacing is all over the place. The first 2 deaths happen off screen. What are you talking about? This is a survival horror game, and your first 2 deaths happen off screen? Okay, calm down. The acting is decent and there's some really cool death scenes, although the water physics don't make sense, but like nothing lands emotionally. The movie just completely forgets the most important part of the game is that choices matter. Here it feels like your decisions barely mean anything because you just start over. And I get they're trying to talk about like multiple playthroughs with Until Dawn and stuff, but it doesn't land. It does not land. The cast tries. Ella Rubin really carries some weight as Clover. Oh my god, Ji Young Yu as Megan really gets some moments that just super stand out, but they are drowning in a script that can't decide if it wants to be a mindbender, a slasher, or a loop thriller, or some hybrid of all 3. It gets a 1.5 stars for me, and that's just because the actors did a really good job and there were a couple cool deaths. But I'm just gonna wait for the remake to come out.
Be whoever you want to be. You have time.
This was a very interesting experience for me, and that's because for the first 2 acts, I was kind of just sitting there, glancing at the clock, thinking I got hundreds of beavers. You know, just like really confused at all of the Letterboxd reviews, really confused as to why everybody loved this movie so much. And then the 3rd act happened. But anyway, let's talk about the plot. Directed and written by Charlotte Wells, Aftersun released in 2022 and follows an 11-year-old Scottish girl, Sophie, played by Frankie Corio, on holiday with her father, Caleb, who's played by Paul Mescal. I love me some Paul Mescal. In Turkey, just before his 31st birthday. Over the course of the trip, they navigate small moments, tensions, and memories, while adult Sophie, played by Celie Rosen Hall, is recalling memories about what was really happening during that trip. So like I said, it started out slow. I love vignettes, right? I love short little bursts of story here and there and the character development that can come from that. And some of them were so cute and the acting was so well done. It felt so natural. But then they just kind of kept coming. There was like some point where my partner was sitting next to me and was like, I love vignettes, but if plot doesn't start happening soon, I'm gonna go crazy. And that's how I was feeling. I was like, where is the plot? It started creeping in, the tension built, and all of the fragments started to actually feel like a larger, darker puzzle. By the time the credits rolled, I was sitting there with a heavy, heavy weight in my chest and tears in my eyes. What Aftersun does so well is trust in the unsaid. The deep undercurrents of grief, of memory, of longing, They all live in the spaces between conversations, in glances, in silence. The acting is nearly hyper-real. Mezcal as Calum is vivid and yet taut, and Choreo as Sophie carries this wide-eyed curiosity that hides more than she knows. It's so good. Like the acting between the two of them was reminiscent of The Fall. And so I was wondering if they just completely lied to this little girl too. They didn't. She was older. Anyway, the cinematography and the score all work together to feel like memory itself, imperfect and fragmentary. That said, the pacing was pretty shaky for me in the first half, like I mentioned. There were plenty of scenes that just lingered for way too long, and I sat there just wondering, okay, what's going on here? Where is this going? But when everything starts snapping into place, it earns the emotion it wants you to feel. The sadness, the longing, the wonder. So I'm giving it 3.5 stars. It didn't really land cleanly from the jump for me, but I really respect the way that it handles trauma, memory, and the way that the past sometimes never really leaves you. Okay, did it. We did it. We made it through. We are here. That was a lot of movies. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.